Welcome back, boys and girls. Today I'm going to show you how to add the next steps onto your clay picture frame. First of all, you rolled your slab out for your picture frame and you carefully dented in where the opening is going to be, but that's one of the last things we're going to cut out. And you also have your base. We will be attaching the base onto the picture frame. That will be the very last thing we do so that our picture frame can stand up. Today, what I'm going to show you how to do is add the detail on your picture frame. You should have drawn some designs on your template, and any kind of theme you want. You could have drawn different types of lines, different shapes, different textures, different creatures, and our goal is to get this onto our clay. One thing you can do is if you put it right on top and you take your clay tool, you can press lightly, just like you did when you created the opening. And if you press lightly onto your clay and peel it off, you'll see little indents. That's a little bit hard to see. If I press a little bit harder, you'll probably be able to see better. Let me try on this side. If you rip your paper, that's okay. This was our guide and helps us, but we probably don't need it much anymore. But you can see very light lines. Can you see that right here? We've got some light lines, and that will help you when you carve your detail. Have your image, have your drawing next to you so that you can get exactly what detail you want. So to start, I can start carving out of my picture frame. I don't want to carve too deep because we don't want to break our picture frame. It's pretty thin as it is, so if I carve too deep, it's going to break pieces off. But I can carve lightly. When I'm carving out pieces of clay, that is called subtractive design. I'm taking away clay. Just like you do in subtraction, you take away. So I can carve lines like this. You can carve any designs. You could even take objects and press them into the clay. I wonder what I have this water cup. I wonder what that would do if I pressed it into the clay. Let's test it out. I'm going to roll it back and forth. It made some light texture. You can kind of feel that texture there. So you can take objects and press them in. That's kind of fun to experiment with too. But I'm going to work on just carving lightly into my picture frame. So that's the first option. And I should see some subtractive design in your clay, carving out pieces. The next thing I should see is additive sculpture or additive design. If you think about what we just did with subtractive design, what do you think? Whoa! The nice thing about clay is that if you mess up, you can just blend it back out and redo it. If you already know what subtractive design is, taking away clay, what do you think additive design might be? Just think for a minute. If you guessed adding clay on, you are correct. Ran out of space. Additive design is the next option of what you can do, and I would like to see at least some sort of additive design on your clay. A ruler would help with this. Additive design is where you take clay, an extra piece of clay, and you sculpt it into something, or you create something and you attach it onto your picture frame. So it's actually sticking off of it instead of being carved down. The first step is you have to figure out what you're going to create. I think what I'm going to do is create those lines out of clay and attach them so that they are actually sticking off the clay. But you could make flowers, you could make a Lego sticking off, you could sculpt a face, anything you want. I'm rolling what's called a coil. If you've rolled a coil before, this probably looks familiar. I want to attach this clay onto that. I'm going to rip it off so I get the size I want. But it doesn't stick. That's a problem. If you just press your clay on and hope that it stays on, you are going to be in for some trouble because your clay pieces are going to fall off. what you need to do is do something called scoring and slipping. Scoring is when you take your pointy tool, the wooden stick, I have a tool that's not as sharp, and you cut little tracks in the clay. You can see I am cutting little slices. If I get a sharper tool like a knife, it makes it a little bit easier to see. I'm cutting little lines in my clay. I also need to cut lines. This is called scoring. I need to create score marks in the clay on the frame as well, on both sides. Both pieces that are going to come together need score marks. If your clay is really soft, you can just press it on and it should blend together. But if it's not, you can take a little bit of water in your water cup, dip your finger in, and just drip a little bit of water onto both pieces, and then carefully wiggle it on and just press it on like that. I'm going to cut off my extra. Anytime you want to add clay onto clay, you need to score and slip, making those little marks, the score marks, and then adding water. I like this because it's not just carved in, you actually have pieces coming off. So I'm going to make one more. First, I'm going to roll my coil or create my shape. Maybe I want to make a circle, or maybe I want to make a flower or something. That's the length I need. Cut it off. And what's next? What's that term when you carve the little lines in it? Scoring. We don't like one direction. Make sure you score in two directions, crisscross. And on the piece that you're going to press down, this is a little wiggly and tricky. Then you need to add some water. The slip, it dissolves the clay and makes it like a glue. And then I'm pressing it down. If I come around and I wiggle your pieces, it's not because I'm trying to ruin your clay piece. I'm trying to make sure that it's going to stay on there forever and it won't fall off. So now I have my subtractive design, carving in, and I have my additive design, scoring and slipping clay onto the frame. That is what we will work on for this session, is finishing smoothing out our picture frame and adding the design. First subtractive, then if we have some time, we will add the additive design with the pieces of extra clay. Have fun!